Hello everybody, welcome to my garden. I'm Fanula, live, work and garden in Zone 9B, as you know if you've been following for a while. Today I'm at home in my own garden. I have a whole bunch of projects that I've lined up and I think I'm going to do. If I at least get 5 of them done, I'll be thrilled to bits. But something I really want to share with you today is the place I take a tea break, where I go in my little garden clearing to take a little bit of a tea break and admire the magic. So we're going to talk about garden rooms, creating magic in your garden, and I'm going to share a little bit of my garden with you, possibly some of the chores, but more a focus on everything you can see from this one spot that I sit down and have a cup of tea. So let's get going. Follow along. We'll make our way in there. First, we're going to stop and look at this amazing rose right here. This is one of the first roses I ever planted about 20 years ago, and I love it so much because the pollinators love it. This rose here is climbing Dortmund, probably from the 30s or the 40s. That's what I'm remembering anyway. And it's one of the parents of our beloved Altissimo, that deep red climber that I have at Cottage Gardens going up the side of the barn. So this is an old rose, supposedly only going to bloom one time per year, but I got it all figured out and I get it to bloom 3 times a year. I'll share that secret with you in a whole other video, but let's keep going. So we had a lot of rain and wind last week, and some of the other fabulous pollinators in my garden have fallen down and are blocking the path. But they're still getting nutrients from the soil. There's still enough roots in the ground that it's still growing. I'm not going to do anything with this till it's finished blooming. This is one of my echiums, and the bees absolutely love it. So here I am in my secret garden room, up at the top end of my garden. Now up the hill, I've got a field with a fabulous, very ancient old pig in it. Down the hill, far, far away is my house. Right here, I'm surrounded by my favorite plants, and it's a secret garden room. It is the most peaceful, wonderful place to stop and take a break and have that cup of tea. So let's start. What is a garden room? It's a space that you've cleared in your garden with a seating area. Maybe there's a little table. Actually, that's really, garden rooms are a lot more than that. There's a whole lot of different styles of garden rooms. The one I'm going to talk about today is where you sit, you relax, you look around, you admire the beauty that you've created and how nature itself is doing so much magic all on its own. So this particular garden room, the walls are plants. The entryway is a little arbor that brings us up into this space. The floor is gravel, very earthy, very cool. Can warm up the plants around it in the winter when the sun hits it. But basically, primarily, my garden room is all about plants. And oh my goodness, there are so many different kinds of plants to talk about. Just within my view right now, I'm seeing at least 20 different types of plants. There's fruit trees, there's perennials, there's biennials, there's annuals. It's really, really magical. And one thing I really love about this particular garden room of mine is I'm not seeing the million chores that I need to do. What I'm seeing are fabulous plants. Let's start with this one. I love Geranium matarense. If you've been watching for a while, you've heard me talk about it. But it is so magical, backlit by the sun, that my chair is placed here on purpose so that I can look to my right and see all the little tiny hairs on each and every flower stem lit up and just positively shining with the sun. I need to tell you more. So this garden room has walls, not just of this little close-up plant right here, but up behind it, I have a plum tree. Now that plum tree has a history. It's an elephant heart plum tree, which I absolutely love. I must have planted it about 15, 16 years ago. And I had a goat at the time, and that goat ate it to the ground. So it is the most weirdly looking, badly pruned plum tree that you ever could possibly see. But I still love it because I think of the story. So my garden room is not just the plants that are sitting there. there's stories behind every single one of those plants. And just to the left of it is an echium. Now this is an echium that must be 12 feet tall at this point, and it's stunning. Another plant that's loved by pollinators, and it's another one that is self-seeded. So I didn't even put that there. It magically came there by itself. But I did choose not to weed it out of that spot because I wanted the walls of my garden room to be tall, protective, a little over the top, a little overwhelming, and as magical as they could be. And that is totally filling the bill over there. Now, just to the left of the archway, we start with some more of my deliberate plantings. I have a gorgeous rose called Carding Mill that I've trained on an obelisk. So it goes straight up, giving me more space for more planting at the base of it. And then, as you can see, when you pan across and looking at everything, I've surrounded myself with beauty, with some height, with something really interesting like that birdhouse up there that has a little oak titmouse living in it right now. I'm pretty sure there are babies because I saw it go in with some food. Over to the left, I've got some ancient ruins, which are super cool. All right, I followed the bird. I was staring at that beautiful little oak titmouse, and then I decided, let's start over here and we'll pan back. So over this way, right here, we've talked about this before. This is a kufia that never ever stops. It blooms all the time, and the hummingbirds absolutely adore it. All around this garden room, I also have flowering tobacco. One of those self-seeders that is really easy to recognize, and I'll pull it out if I don't want it to be right there, but I do actually want it all over the place. Hummingbirds love it, honeybees love it, native bees love it, so it gets to stay too. In the distance, I've got port sunlight over another one of my arches, and it, from the seating position, forms a really fabulous backdrop with another echium coming up behind it and a big old poplar tree way behind that. So my little clearing feels very protected, very magical, very secretive, and absolutely stunning, and there's so much to look at. So here's another fabulous plant that really takes care of itself. One thing about this garden room, it's in a kind of a slightly awkward place for irrigation purposes. So many of these plants are really, really drought tolerant. This one here adds to the magic. This is Salvia apiana. This is that sage, the white sage that's used for smudging, dispelling evil spirits, creating more magic. So having it here in my garden adds to the magic. Did you see that with the hummingbirds fighting over some of the nicotiana? There is so much of it. It's amazing they had to fight over one flower. But anyway, so this beautiful Salvia apiana is a summer bloomer. You can see it beginning to bud up. It's going to be 8 feet tall, full of blooms, and it's going to make all my pollinators so very, very happy. One thing about growing a wild garden or a flower garden or a pollinator garden is I never use any pesticides or herbicides or anything like that because I don't want to accidentally get it on the wrong thing. The one pesticide I ever consider using is on my roses if I spot rose slugs. That is my one exception because I cannot stand those little buggers. But so far so good. We're doing really good so far this year. End of April, no sign of any of them. Let's keep going. Let me show you what else. We've seen my lilacs before. This forms a perfect backdrop in early spring. Right now it's just about time to prune them, but that's a chore I'm going to ignore for today because it's not on my list. Over here, we've got this coprosma. Now, I don't know if you can see it from there, but it's a mirror plant. It reminds me of New Zealand. I use the branches for cut flowers, so it's kind of cut back a lot, but it's there and it's gorgeous. More flowering tobacco. One of my favorite roses. This is Gabriel Oak, one of the best behaved, most fabulous of the David Austin roses that I have ever grown. Absolutely love the way it looks. I love the way the petals fall off. I love the fragrance. I love each petal. Can you see? You got pink, you got gold at the base of the petal. I just love this rose so much. The fragrance is amazing, the color is amazing, the growth habit is amazing. It hasn't suddenly turned itself into a climber like many of the others do. Not that I mind, I really work with them. But it's doing exactly what I want it to do. And it makes me really happy. Another reason that having my little cup of tea spot here, not spotting all the chores, it's the most perfect location. And there we have another giant echium covered with pollinators. I started here in this garden with two different echiums. The regular Pride of Madeira, which is this bushy blue that gets about 6 to 8 feet tall and wide. And then I also brought in Tower of Jewels, which goes straight up and has pink flowers. Now in my garden, they have hybridized. I literally really only started with two different kinds of echiums. They hybridized and they've produced all kinds of Dr. Seussy looking echiums, and I absolutely love it. There isn't a single one that I would reject out of hand and say, nope, that's not a good hybrid. They're all absolutely stunning. And then comes back over here, this rose, another David Austin in the beautiful apricot peachy tones. So look a little blown out at this point, end of April. And also we've had some weather that has really done a number on them, but it's still stunning. First flush of blooms, here we have it, trained on an obelisk to keep it in line and so that I can get out of here without it smacking me in the face. And it is so fragrant and so beautiful. And that brings me to my entry and exit. This little arch marks the entry and the exit to my little garden room up here, this little secret garden space that I've got. And it's really nice to mark the entry and the exit. The exit spot over on the other side is a little bit smothered by a beautiful Geranium madarense, but as soon as it's done blooming, I'm going to pull it out of there and that little pathway will be revealed again. So really right now there's just one in and out, and it's right here. Okay, I have a hard time sitting still, so I did think of a chore that I really needed to do, and I wanted to show you the outside of my garden rooms, like outside the walls of the garden rooms, the things that you don't see from sitting down over there. And guess what? I found the perfect spot to plant that peony that I brought home the other day. Do you remember I planted that scrumdiddlyumptious over there in a different part of my garden? And I could not resist this summer sunset one. Well, I carried it around the garden for quite some time. And then today I found the perfect spot. Look at the color of this. Look how gorgeous it's going to look against this little scabiosa, vivid violet. And I think it's going to be so happy because you get the full sun up here. The drainage is excellent. It's going to look so beautiful beside everything else, and it's going to front up this terracotta pot that I have another David Austin rose in that I'm nursing back to health. This is William Shakespeare, or something even older, that it was in a different part of my garden. An oak tree grew up, shaded it too much, a deer ate it, gophers got it. I rescued it when it was tiny, put it in this pot, and I'm nursing it back to health. And its roses, whenever it blooms, there's a bud right there, they're going to be really deep red and big and fat and gorgeous. I think it's going to look amazing beside this incredible summer sunset peony. So let's go back into the garden. Let's go back over there and I'll share a few further thoughts on what a garden room should be. So there we go, everybody. One little plant I forgot to tell you about that is also a self-seeder. It pops up in so many different places that I kind of forget to even mention it. But this is Jupiter's beard, or can't remember its botanical name, but you see it everywhere. It's absolutely fantastic. End of April, it blooms really gorgeously. It's not Centranthus, something like that. it'll occur to me when we're done with this video. I'll remember it, or maybe at 2 a.m. But I love how it just pops up, adds a pop of airy pink color here and there. Needs zero care, basically. So, thank you so much for watching this. I want you to go outside in your own gardens now. Find your favorite spot with your favorite view, what makes you feel the best, and think about creating a little garden room, a little garden clearing right there. Grab a chair, go sit there, grab a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or whatever it is you like, and sit and admire the beauty all around you, what you've created. Or if you haven't created your garden yet, talk about magic. I got a mourning dove singing away up there. If you're just starting out, you haven't created any magic yet, you will. Sit still, start looking around, and start picturing what's going to make the walls of my secret garden, what is going to make the backdrop, what's going to make the floor, how's that entry going to look. It is so much fun, let me tell you. And I've created a space that just makes me feel like a 4-year-old kid. There's like flowers, there's bees buzzing, there's birds nesting, there's hummingbirds fighting over the flowering tobacco, and the rooster's out there somewhere. He was making a racket a minute ago. I can hear the pig rustling over there. But all the nature, all the honeybees, everything just makes me so happy. And this actual spot does encourage me to sit still for a minute, because that is not my nature. I think in the whole 10 years that this has been here, I don't think I've reclined even once, but I do sit still. I have my cup of tea. I look at the magic all around me and absolutely love it. So, thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you like this video. I hope you're inspired to go out and create something magic in your own garden. Find me on Facebook or Instagram. Find me at Cottage Gardens of Petaluma. And when I'm not to be found at Cottage Gardens of Petaluma, you know I'm going to be here in my magical garden. All right, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I will see you next time. Happy gardening.